Adding either rows or columns to our table is easy in Word 2010, and it's equally easy to remove columns and rows. For example, to insert a new row at the bottom of our table, I simply click in the last cell in the last row and press Tab, and I automatically get a new row. If I want to remove rows, I can simply select, right-click, and delete them. Inserting a column is a little bit trickier because our table already takes up the entire width of the page. So when I add a column, Word is going to make its best guess at how to change the widths of these existing columns in order to make it all fit. I want to add a column to show whether the store is a store that's open Monday through Friday or whether it's open 7 days. So I'm going to insert a column. I can either insert it to the left of employees or to the right of established. In either event, if I want to insert to the left of employees, I select employees, right-click, and choose Insert Columns to the Left. Or, on the Layout tab, I choose Insert Left. Notice that Word automatically adjusted the column widths of all of the other columns to accommodate this. So this is going to be days, and our Ventura store is a Monday through Friday store. Our Los Angeles store is a 7-day store. Carpinteria is a 7-day store. San Jose, Monday through Friday. Oakland, 7 days. Orlando, 7 days. And our store in Boca is a Monday through Friday store. The way Word handled this insertion is a huge improvement over prior versions of Word, where it kept all of the columns that were already there at the same width and simply allowed their new columns to push the table off the right-hand edge of the page. I can easily change how this table is formatted in terms of its column widths using the AutoFit and Distribute commands. So, for example, let's say that I decided to make some adjustments to my table. I'm going to adjust this column. And notice that my rows get higher because I don't have enough width now for some of the data. And I'm going to move this edge of my table in as well. As I adjust the right edge of the right column, I'm actually changing the width of the table altogether. So if I now want to make a column wider, and by the way, it will be easier for me to grab the edges of these columns if I go to the Layout tab and view grid lines. If I decide that I want to make this column wider again, notice that it doesn't affect the width of the table itself. I can't make this any wider. If I want to manually change that, I can, but once I manually adjust the width of the table, I'm kind of stuck with that. Although, I can tell Word, actually, why don't you auto-fit this into the whole window? And it will once again make this fit the window. Or if I want to wrap text around my table and I want it to be as compact as it can be, I can tell it to auto-fit to the contents. Word will quickly scan each column of data and size the column width to fit the data. So now I have space to be able to wrap around this. If, however, I manually adjust this column width then, I have some rows that are different height than the other ones. Particularly, Pamela Sardeshpande's name is too long to fit in this newly sized column. Let me make all of the rows the same height by choosing Distribute Rows. What Distribute Rows does is it makes every row the height of the tallest row. And if I distribute columns, then what will happen is each of my columns will be exactly the same width. Now that means in some cases that I have breaks in bad places that I don't appreciate, like established. I can either deal with this manually, or I can tell Word again, why don't you just auto-fit this to the contents or auto-fit it to the window. I can easily insert a row any place I wish by right-clicking and choosing Insert Rows Above or Below, or a column again, and the same commands are repeated here on the Layout tab. One final thought. My text is in the upper left-hand corner of every cell in these 3 columns, is in the center but at the top of these 3 columns. I'd actually like to have my text appear in the center point of these cells. I like the spaciousness of the table, but I don't like the text crowding in the upper left-hand corner. For example, Ventura here. I'd rather it be centered vertically within the cell. So I'm going to select my table, and I'm going to use the alignment buttons to align this text center left. I could also align it at the bottom of my cell, the top center, the middle center. So I want the middle center for these 3 columns right here. Then let's select these 3 columns and go with left center. Now I have a nicely formatted, easy to look at table. With Word 2010, it's this easy to work with the tools on the Layout tab or to right-click and use the Content menu to quickly add rows and columns and to reformat your table columns, rows, and cells.